We have now covered 7 animal phyla, which leaves 2 more, the chordates, which we will spend an entire unit on, and echinoderms. Today we will discuss these echinoderms, which, believe it or not, we are somewhat closely related to. At least we have more in common with sea stars than insects or octopuses. Like us, they have true tissues, bilateral symmetry, and a coelom. The phylum Echinodermata contains about 700 species. You are probably somewhat familiar with sea stars, sand dollars, sea urchins, and sea cucumbers. All of these are echinoderms, which is a word that roughly translates into spiny skin. You may have never seen a living sand dollar, but they are covered in tiny spines. Lesser-known brittle stars and basket stars are also in this phylum. Let's begin by talking about the development of echinoderms. They have all 3 germ layers, and their anus forms before their mouth. This is the first group we have talked about with this feature, and this is one reason why we know they are close relatives to us. Both echinoderms and chordates have this feature and are therefore referred to as deuterostomes instead of proteosomes. As larvae, they have bilateral symmetry, just like chordates. But when they become adults, they switch to a form of radial symmetry where they can be cut 5 ways into halves. We call this form of symmetry where the animal switches from bilateral to being able to be cut 5 times in half as secondary pentaradial symmetry. This video clip shows how all echinoderms follow the same body plan, even though the sea stars don't immediately resemble sea cucumbers.
Even the most familiar of echinoderms can seem strange and alien. The sea star is a headless, faceless wonder, a collection of arms that forms a 5-pointed star. Like all echinoderms, its body is based on 5-part symmetry. In fact, every echinoderm is a variation on this 5-part body plan. Join the sea star's arms together and you get a surprising variation, the basic shape of its close relative, the sea urchin. The 5 arms have become a 5-part sphere. Turn the urchin on its side and give its body a good stretch, you've created a sea cucumber. The 5-part sphere has become a 5-part tube.
When you find a sand dollar on the beach, what you are examining is the skeleton of the animal that is made of a series of hard plates. These are called endoskeletal plates because they are inside the animal, unlike the exoskeleton of arthropods. In the case of sea urchins and sand dollars, the plates fuse together to form a single piece called a test. Here you can see how these plates are put together.
Under the surface, echinoderms are equally unusual. The sea star skeleton is nothing like our own. Just beneath the skin lies a latticework made up of thousands of bony platelets. They're woven together by minuscule muscles which can flex the arms in any direction. They have incredible strength and endurance. A special protein allows them to lock their arms in position effortlessly for hours, something our muscles could never do. Instead of a brain, echinoderms have a nerve ring, a living relay station. It acts to coordinate the movements of their arms. How do creatures built on such a simple design, so different from our own complex bodies, manage to survive and even thrive?
Another characteristic that sets echinoderms apart from all other animals is their method of moving. Their body contains a series of tubes and little balloons called a water vascular system. Water enters and exits the system through an opening called the madreporite. If a sea star wants to move its arm, it would just have to fill tubes in that arm with water. Here you can see the water vascular system in more detail.
Echinoderms move and feed like no other animals on Earth. They use remarkable organs, completely unique in the animal kingdom, hydraulically powered tube feet. The tube feet of sea stars are inflated by water. drawn into the body through a single opening called a sieve plate. The water fills the 5 radial canals which run down the length of the arms, forming a hydraulic system. The water is stored in little muscular bulbs. When a bulb contracts, it forces water into the elastic tube foot, extending it. Muscles on the foot swing it in the direction the sea star wants to move. Sea stars can move equally well in any direction, but they must coordinate the movement of thousands of feet. Used together, they have incredible strength. Clustered at the tip of each arm are special sensory tube feet that taste the water, seeking food or sensing danger. The tip of each arm is also equipped with a light-sensing organ, seen here as a red dot. This receptor cannot form images, but it can sense light and darkness.
This water vascular system connects to suction cups that extend out from the body called tube feet. They use these for moving and handling their food.
Urchins are grazers, munching their way through submarine pastures of plants and algae. Along the California coast, urchins can reach plague proportions. They have a voracious appetite for giant kelp. Seen in time-lapse, urchins spring into eerie life, devouring anything edible in their path. Urchins don't have eyes, so they can't see where they're going. But they do have sensory tube feet, which wave to and fro, tasting the water for anything good to eat. The feet act like a bucket brigade, passing the food from one sticky sucker to the next, pulling the meal relentlessly toward the powerful, star-shaped jaw that awaits underneath. It makes short work of the tender kelp, neatly scissoring it into bite-sized pieces. When urchin populations are high, the persistent nibbling of their armies can mow down an entire kelp forest within a matter of months. This is Pycnopodia, a giant among sea stars. It can have more than 20 arms and grow larger than a manhole cover. It is clearly recognized by the other animals in this community as a force to be reckoned with. As Pycnopodia makes its way among the rocks, it picks up the trail of 2 snails. Realizing they are under attack, the snails make a run for their lives. Finding itself in Pycnopodia's clutches, one snail desperately tries to twist itself free. It escapes, but not for long. Caught in Pycnopodia's fatal embrace, the snail will be swallowed whole.
I want to cover 4 classes within the phylum Echinodermata. The class Asteroidea includes the sea stars, which people often refer to as starfish. Some scientists don't like calling them starfish because they are not fish, though I'm not sure anyone thinks they are fish. Sea stars can reproduce by fragmentation, which means if you chop off an arm, the rest of the body will grow back. Though they still have pentaradial symmetry, some sea stars have more than 5 arms, like 10 or 15 or even 40. If you look very closely at the surface of many sea stars, they have tiny pinchers called pedicellari. These are used to defend themselves by grabbing and pinching the skin of predators. The favorite food of sea stars is a mussel, but how do they open a mussel?
Although their sensory system may seem simplistic compared to ours, it hasn't stopped the sea star from being a fearsome predator. The sea stars will find their next meal higher up on the pilings of a man-made pier, a feast of mussels. Like an advancing army, the sea stars move into position, slowly but surely working their way up toward their victims. The pilings provide a solid surface to which whole colonies of mussels cling. The mussels cannot run or fight. All they can do is hide within their shells as their killers crawl over their bodies. Sensory tube feet sweep over the tightly packed mass of shells, searching for any gap in the mussel's defenses. Settling on its victim, the first wave of the assault begins with the tube feet, which use hydraulic pressure to pry open any gaps in the mussel's shell. Next, the sea star deploys its most unusual weapon, its stomach, which moves out of its body to digest its prey alive. Once the tube feet have physically breached the mussel's defensive line, the sea star's translucent stomach begins the final assault. A miniature camera tucked within the mussel's shell gives us the first look ever at the carnage that unfolds here every day. The animal actually pushes its stomach inside the mussel's shell, unfolding like a fatal flower. The stomach unleashes a volley of chemical weapons, digestive juices that dissolve the mussel's soft pink flesh. All that's left is a nutrient-rich soup, a broth that's quickly absorbed by the sea star. Having assimilated the mussel, the sea star's stomach pulls away, and the animal moves on, leaving behind an empty shell.
Just imagine throwing up your stomach onto your burger, digesting the burger, and then swallowing your stomach again. This is how sea stars eat. The act of removing your own stomach is called evisceration. One species of sea star, called the crown of thorns, spits out its stomach onto corals to eat the polyps. Over the past 60 years, the population of this sea star has gone out of control and has become a serious threat to coral reefs. The cause of their population growth is mostly due to humans eating their main predators, which are Titan triggerfish and Triton sea snails. The second class I will cover is the class Ophiroidea, which include brittle stars and basket stars. These animals look like sea stars, but they have jointed arms, which allows them to move a lot faster. They lack tube feet, and the madreporite is on the oral side instead of the aboral side, meaning the madreporite is on the same side as what? Some brittle stars like these are filter feeders.
Brittle stars can cover vast expanses of the sea floor, forming a fuzzy living carpet. These smallest echinoderms often make up in numbers for what they lack in size. But though they may appear more like plants than animals, their writhing bodies betray their true nature. For these are not flowers of the deep. These are patient predators. They catch their prey by waving their feathery arms through the water, plucking plankton from the current.
The class Echinoidea includes sea urchins and sand dollars. You have probably never seen these animals alive, but they both have tube feet and spines that stick out when they are living to help them move. These dry out and fall off when they die, and all that is left behind is their test. Here are some tests from some sand dollars and sea urchins. You can see they come in a variety of shapes and colors. If you break one open when it is alive, you may see the red gonads that are a common delicacy. To me, they taste like what you think a slug would taste like. Inside the sea urchin, you can also find its feeding apparatus, called Aristotle's lantern, after the person who first described it. This is what the sea urchins use to chew up kelp. Lastly, we have the class Holothuroidea, which includes sea cucumbers. These echinoderms have lost their endoskeleton, and their tube feet have developed into tentacles around their mouth used to scavenge detritus from the ocean floor.
Like their cousins, the urchins, sea cucumbers have a powerful impact on their world. These vacuum cleaners of the deep lumber across sea floors the world over. In the deep sea, these unassuming creatures make up the vast majority of animals on the ocean floor. Everywhere they go, these animals help themselves to a banquet hidden in the sand. Specially modified tube feet continuously shovel sand into their mouths. Sand rich in organic matter, which they digest. The leftovers are ejected in the familiar manner. Legend has it that every grain of ocean sand has, at one time or another, passed this way.
Sea cucumbers can throw up their intestines just like sea stars, but they do this for a different purpose. If you scare a sea cucumber, it will spit out its intestines on you. These sticky threads make the sea cucumber very unappetizing to predators. It will take 20 or so days to regenerate, but starving for a few weeks is better than being dead.
It's time for a crazy critter!
Here we will explore true facts about the sea pig. Here is a picture of a land pig. As you can see, they are virtually indistinguishable from the sea pig. One way to tell the difference is that bacon from a land pig tastes delicious, while bacon from a sea pig tastes like a fish farted on a dirty beach cracker. Another way is to simply ask it whether it's a sea pig. If when you ask your mouth fills up with seawater, then you're probably an idiot, because the sea pig lives deep in the abyss of the ocean. The sea pig is a type of sea cucumber. This is stock video of a sea cucumber, which has been downloaded one time by me. This is a picture of a land cucumber. As you can see, they're virtually identical. If you get confused, check to see if your cucumber is breathing through its anus. Because unlike land cucumbers, sea cucumbers breathe through their anuses. As you might have guessed, this is no ordinary run-of-the-mill commonplace anus. Sea cucumbers have a cloaca. Think of it as a multi-purpose orifice for breathing, pooping, baiting, and any other orifice-related needs you might have. Convenient. Not what I would have chosen personally. I'm quite happy with my arrangement. I'm a man who likes a bit of distance between the breathing and the pooping, but no judgments. In any case, the many uses of the cloaca did not escape the pearlfish, which has formed a symbiotic relationship with the sea cucumber. It hides inside the sea cucumber's butt, where it feeds and gains protection. The sea cucumber, meanwhile, has a fish in its butt. Win-win. Further down in the depths, the little understood sea pig uses hydraulic pumps that inflate its legs full of water as it marches on the ocean floor in search of detritus and whale carcasses to eat. Because it is so mushy-mushy, the sea pig is a host of parasites like small snails and crustaceans which burrow into it and feed on its insides. Bummer. Fortunately, the sea pig doesn't really have a brain, so it probably doesn't care.
What else can I say about this odd little echinoderm that lives at the bottom of the ocean?
Sea pig, sea pig.
Bottom trawling ships in search of fish kill many sea pigs, which are delicate and die quickly when brought up to the surface because of changes in pressure. The population of these odd critters is therefore declining rapidly because of how we fish. Before we end discussing echinoderms, I want to highlight an important concept. California sea otters live in kelp forests, and one of their favorite foods is sea urchins. They used to have a population of 16,000, but during the 1800s, they were hunted for their fur, and now only 50 remain in California. It turns out that sea otters play an important role as a keystone species. What do you think would happen to this food web now that sea otters are gone. Without sea otters, the first thing we see is that sea urchin populations soar. Without a predator to keep their population in check, they eat all the kelp and outcompete kelp crabs. And the same thing happens with the bivalves, whose populations grow and eat all the plankton. With lots of scallops to eat, the bat stars, another echinoderm, grows in number, but the fish populations decline with no plankton to eat, and with no fish to eat, the seals disappear completely. So the elimination of the otter results in a landscape of purple sea urchins, scallops, and bat stars with very low diversity. Now imagine what would happen to the larger population of sea otters in Alaska if there was an oil spill. The 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill caused the population to decline from 110,000 to 73,000, and it is not yet recovered.